Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vince.
We must kill young Sheldon.
Is that a quote from these? We've got Chris.
You're good. Me, I'm magic.
Whoa. I remember that quote. I'm Kia. Welcome to the show. We're reading some Daredevil today. Some old... It's been a long time since we read any Daredevil, hasn't it?
Since our first episode, I was looking.
Really?
Yeah, we read it to come out with the Daredevil Netflix series.
Yeah.
And I think we read Daredevil Born Again. It was our first episode. And then I looked and we've never read Daredevil titled episodes ever again in 10 years. Daredevil has been canceled 6 years ago, and it's Born Again on Disney Plus next month.
Bringing it back.
Really? Same guy?
Yeah, same. Yeah, the Daredevil ends up being I don't know how much you've kept up with the movies. He's Spider-Man's lawyer, that Matt Murdock in No Way Home, and then he dated She-Hulk in the She-Hulk series.
In two episodes of She-Hulk.
He got the yellow and red costume. And he went to a cookout with just some like barbecue with She-Hulk and her family, and that's the last time we've seen Matt Murdock.
Okay, in the cinematic universe.
In the cinematic universe, and then Kingpin's actually shown up a lot. He was in Hawkeye, and he was in Echo.
I didn't watch Echo, but yeah, that makes sense.
Echo's good. Echo was good.
I forgot they made either of those shows.
So did Echo was a solid 5 or 6 episode show. It's disconnected from everything, but it was fun.
Okay. Well, great. Does any of that have anything to do with our comics?
No, because Elektra. No, I think Elektra's in Daredevil season 2, and then the Defenders maybe.
Yeah, and the Punishers. It is funny because they are very, very loosely adapting the Elektra Punisher stuff in season 2, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Elektra is the movie is celebrating its 20th anniversary this month also. So, pew pew.
The movie?
Yeah, Elektra showed up in Deadpool and Wolverine last year. So.
Wait, no, you're talking about the Ben Stiller Daredevil, right? He was Daredevil?
Ben Affleck.
Ben Stiller.
Affleck. Ben Stiller would have made a good Daredevil.
He got his dick caught in the zipper of his Daredevil costume, as I recall.
Yeah, I remember.
Well, too much choking the chicken will make you blind.
Mm-hmm.
But no, the Jennifer Garner Elektra standalone movie, which I think your stupid minds covered, it came out in either January or February 2005. And then she showed up again in Daredevil or Deadpool and Wolverine, which was really good, her performance. Elektra's just popping all around today. So
all right, we got so we are reading some old issues from 1982 by Frank Miller, kind of some classic Daredevil here. The Death of Elektra, big time comics, iconic scene. Everyone's seen her get stabbed through the stomach there, right? Everyone knows.
It's hilarious how many people she stabs from the back through the stomach leading up to that death. Mm-hmm. I've never thought about it that way, that's her move that then Bullseye uses on her. But
it is funny that I guess the comics code was we can't see a sword poking through someone, but we can see their chest ballooning out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
the only way you're allowed to kill someone. Yeah.
And Miller's obviously Frank Miller, we haven't covered much of because he's obviously gotten awful. Although we have covered the goddamn Batman and some other things.
Yeah, as you say, we did All-Star Batman and Robin as a joke.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a very reputable comic writer, and I think I want to say Daredevil was one of his first big things. He created Elektra an issue 168. We're starting with 178, so he's near the end of his Daredevil Elektra parts. And
it is crazy to think she hasn't been a character for a year when we're starting to read this.
Yeah. So we're just doing 5 issues from kind of the middle of Frank Miller's run. This is 178 through 182. I will say, as someone who has read Daredevil both before and after Frank Miller started writing and drawing it, it's incredible how good he gets this book, how fast. It's such a D-list, not very good. It's occasionally fun. What's his name who did Howard the Duck wrote it for a little while, and he goes Steve Gerber writes it, and he goes to San Francisco, and it's kind of a countercultural book with Black Widow. That's the most interesting it had ever been. And then it was just kind of middling. They had a Batman writer on it for a little while, and so it was like a discount Batman. And then Frank Miller comes out, and you're this book is amazing, so fast.
Right, because there were like 3 collected editions I bought, and the first ones he doesn't write, I want to say, but he draws,
Right.
and they're kind of like, okay, they're fine.
I think even then they start getting a lot more. If you read the ones that come before it, they have so much more energy, and then they just get good like really fast.
Well, I mean, that's getting my thesis here. Like usually when I read like 80s comics, I'm like, this is, I mean, this feels like an 80s comic. But this immediately becomes like, oh yeah, this is a modern comic. Like this is the kind of stuff that you would watch like a Netflix drama of, as it gets into like with the stuff with like the buying off the mayor and it's just really good stuff. It feels very modern in the way it's paced and everything. Or real fast.
I don't 100% agree. We'll get into it. It's good. It's good stuff. And of course we're continuing Thunderbolts. We read the first 12 issues of Thunderbolts, and we're just going to keep on going. They're on a weird planet. We'll get to that. Thunderbolts number 13.
Say they're really punishing us for that choice in this issue. It's the worst issue of Thunderbolts we've read, I think.
It probably is. We'll get to that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're really giving the theses away.
A little bit. Yep. You can turn off the episode. You've got all the info.
Yep.
All right, let's get into it here. Daredevil 178. So as we've been talking about, Frank Miller's been writing the book for a little while. He's introduced Elektra as like this old fling of Matt Murdock's from the past. Currently, she's busy killing some people or something, and she gets a letter from the Kingpin. It's like, hey, I've been hearing about you. You should come and work for me. Be my new assassin. Meanwhile,
and she gets this letter through goons breaking into her house.
Yeah.
She has to like knock out 7 guys to be like, okay, well, if you're reading this, you're probably cool enough to work for the Kingpin.
Do the goons know that this is part of the plan?
Probably not.
No, they're just give her this letter. It'll be fine.
Yeah, they're like, okay, I guess so. We're really gonna prove ourselves as the Kingpin. This will be a good job for us. Yeah, just like all have concussions and broken limbs, and they're like, but that was part of we fucked ourselves. Okay, well,
yeah, they're dead. So we've also got this kind of backstory going throughout all these issues with a councilman, Randolph Cherry, who is running for mayor, and he is suing the Daily Bugle for defamation. They're saying that he's getting money from the mob. We're seeing that he is. He's in league with the Kingpin. He's talking to him about what they're going to do and everything. They're also being blackmailed by some kid. I wasn't sure what the story was with this kid here, but he's kind of sort of a focus of this first issue. Like, I guess this kid is maybe the one who is blowing the whistle, but also they've got some checks at the Daily Bugle. They've got some proof. So, yeah. What else is going on? Murdoch is defending the Bugle. He and Foggy Nelson, they're meeting with J. Jonah Jameson. That kid is there for some reason. I don't get this kid. But it doesn't matter. The goons attack. They're trying to get the kid because they know he's got the info.
It's young Sheldon.
That's young Sheldon?
Yeah.
His name is Sheldon?
Yeah. Well, not only Sheldon. Kingpin calls him young Sheldon is but a child playing a game better left to adults. And they call him young Sheldon at least 3 times throughout the book. Okay. That everybody's trying to kill him because he's got the goods.
Okay. That's a Big Bang Theory reference.
Yes,
right?
Big Bang Theory. Yeah.
Is that in the
it's
Marvel
actually a
Cinematic
young
Universe?
Sheldon reference.
It's a young Sheldon. Yes. Well, and in the Sheldon cinematic universe of Big Bang Theory is old Sheldon. Then there's young Sheldon, and now there's another spinoff with young Sheldon's brother called George and Mandy's First Marriage or something. I want to say there's 3 Sheldon shows. Is what I'm saying.
It's a lot of information about TV shows here today. All right, so some goons attack the office. Matt pretends to be blind, goes, "Oh, I'm accidentally tripping people. Oh, I'm going to get away and turn it on Daredevil." And this kid runs away. He's out of there.
Young Sheldon.
Young Sheldon. Immediately afterwards, Foggy Nelson is like, "Okay, we are in deep. I need to go to the Heroes for Hire for some protection." And they're like, "Hey, I want you to protect my blind lawyer friend, please." They don't want to take the job, but they've got some guy who's like on their case.
Jaren. He's like their. We read Iron Fist, a decade ago. Mm-hmm. He's like their boss. I want to say Carrie Ann Moss plays the role.
They switched Jaren to a lady. Yeah.
Man, that was a deep pull for my brain.
Mm-hmm,
But so is Danny Rand not a billionaire right now? Because he's like, man, we really need to take this job because Matt Murdock makes more in a divorce case than we make in a whole year. And so it's
I
like,
guess he's just in Heroes for Hire. I don't know what the status quo for Heroes for Hire is.
I don't know.
Too.
It looks like, I mean, they're mad that Foggy ate their last piece of pizza. They need to.
I like broke bumbling Luke Cage and Iron Fist. I think it's a funny bit that they are not.
I do.
It's cute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like when Luke Cage like when I finally get to do something.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to bodyguard some blind guy. It's gonna be boring, man. I'm like, oh, but this is the exact kind of thing that'll get Jaren off our case. It's like, it's like a honest work, So there's like a parade happening, some kind of ticker tape parade. There's a whole adventure happening there. People start attacking.
I like the Kermit the Frog appearance.
Kermit the Frog balloon.
Also Disney.
And then the mayor is sending some checks, giving some checks to that boy, young Sheldon. I think we needed to keep reading earlier stuff if I really wanted to know what's going on here. Some random kid grabs the checks and runs with them, and they got all mixed up in the ticker tape parade stuff. And it's like, okay, well, this stuff's gone.
Young Sheldon has, if I recall correctly, my military he has some proof that the mayoral candidate, Mayor Cherry, is connected to the Kingpin somehow. And if the newspapers reveal that the political candidate is mobbed up, then the newspaper can tell everybody, and then everybody like, we should not vote for a criminal. That would be a bad idea.
Right.
So that's the plan.
They wouldn't just dismiss the newspaper as making this up.
Yes, they or just not care. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, he's in league with a criminal. He's going to take over all of our governmental systems." Yeah, it's fine, totally. It's
yeah,
cool.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. Power Man and Iron Fist are trying to keep an eye on Matt Murdock, and he's like, I gotta get away from these people. So he jumps down an elevator shaft, and they're like, where'd he go?
In 1981, do elevator shafts, or in New York, Kia, because the expert, do elevator doors just open up and there's no elevator in there?
No,
Have you ever seen that?
But Matt Murdock did comment on how unusual that was. He was like, well, fine, I'll take it. I'm jumping down there. I've never seen it happen, but in the 80s, elevators maybe weren't as good. I don't know. I got stuck in an elevator at Target a few months ago.
Oh, elevator in Target, fancy.
Yeah, but it was in the elevator, not just in the shaft.
I got stuck in an elevator at the courthouse once. So yeah, it happens.
Not good. It's not good. But
just like Daredevil, I was the one Daredevil landed directly on top of.
Yeah, listeners, if you've ever been stuck in an elevator or an elevator shaft, or you've purposefully jumped down an elevator shaft to evade bodyguards, then let us know. We want to hear about it.
I will say, listener, if you think being stuck in an elevator sounds fun, it actually isn't. It really sucks.
Is it hot? There's no air circulation, right?
Yeah, there's no airflow. This was in June for me, so I was wearing a suit when I got in that elevator. I was wearing an undershirt. When the fire department got me out.
We were not in there very long with ours, but I was in there with a whole bunch of rowdy teens who I think had overweighted the elevator, and one old lady who was just very upset to be in there.
Oh no! I was just in there with one other person who spoke English as a second language.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, did y'all get to know each other? Did y'all have a strong connection by the end of it?
If by strong connection you mean it was like a sauna, and we were both sitting down taking our clothes off.
That's hot, man. Fun. Ooh, congratulations.
People pay good money for that.
Yeah. All right.
Or just get it free on the internet, I guess. But.
Yeah, I am.
Anyway, back to the elevator. Yeah. So yes, they're like, I know what this means. Matt Murdock was kidnapped.
Mm-hmm. And they go to this mayoral candidate to question him, and he's like, "No, get away from me!" And they're like, well, I guess it wasn't him then.
I feel like the way that Cherry is spelled with an H after the word cherry, he has to be some analog for somebody in the 70s or 80s, some corrupt politician.
It has to be some kind of parody, but I don't know what it is.
I don't know. There is a fantasy author with her name spelled like that. I think it's CJ Cherry or something like that. Okay. Maybe it's a romance author. I've seen it before. Yeah, CJ Cherry is a speculative fiction writer. Yeah. Spelled that way.
Because I look like Ed Koch or Koch, Coach, was the mayor of New York from like 79 to like 80 something. So during this time.
Oh, yeah, that could be it.
That's kind of who the guy with the bald guy is kind of based on, right?
Mm-hmm.
The incumbent mayor.
Yeah.
Who everyone hates, but he still wins. Spoiler for next issue.
All right, I'm looking at some wiki trivia here. The surname Cherry was invented in 1976 for the author C.J. Cherry. Bam.
Oh,
Bam.
Frank Miller shooting his shot.
Yeah.
I named a corrupt character after you.
Yeah. So what happens at the end of this issue? Elektra kills some of Kingpin's goons and shows up at his door, and he's like, "Hey, we got to talk about some stuff." Is there anything else I missed in this issue?
Not really. This next issue though is real good.
Yeah, this is mostly set up. This one I understand if you weren't super on board, it gets much better.
Yeah, I was not super on board with this. I did like the Luke Cage and Iron Fist comic relief, but I was also like, I kind of want to just get to the story here. It feels, yeah. So let's keep going.
I will say though, throughout this book, because it's we're so good at describing panel to panel fights, but the fight scene between Iron Fist and Daredevil is good. And there's great fights in almost every issue of this book.
Yeah, they are all really drawn very well, and not I don't know. I kind of don't like it when fights feel the need to have people talking in every single panel and describing I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this. It just kind of lets the action speak for itself a little bit, which I do like a lot.
Did we explicitly say that? Go ahead.
You can tell that this is a artist writing because it is action forward in that way, that it's not just we have to communicate all this information, make sure people aren't confused. No, it's I'm going to draw this cool fight scene and then I'm just going to put dialogue over it, but it's not going to be about what they're doing.
Yeah. And Vince, I think I know what you were about to ask. We have not mentioned the artist's name. Well, Frank Miller drew all this, and then Klaus Janson finished it with the inks, and I think he drew some of it as well.
Yeah, we said Miller wrote it. I don't know if we explicitly said he was the artist. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, let's jump into the next issue, 179. This is a Ben Urich focused issue. Ben Urich.
I've always said Urich. It looks like It looks like Denny O'Neil's on board with this too.
Yeah, hanging out.
Where is he? He's not the editor of this, is he?
I think he would have been.
Okay, because he was a Batman editor too, wasn't he? There's a lot of Batman overlap around these times.
Yeah, there was a brief time when he was writing Spider-Man, and I think he was working as an editor from 1979 or 80 to 1982. Okay. Before it was kind of a dark. That's when Madam Web was created, actually.
Oh, okay.
He's the co-creator of Madam Web.
Oh,
okay.
I hope his estate's getting money.
Film star.
The second best of the 3 Sony movies that came out last year. I have not seen Kraven. We'll see. Venom 3. I had a good time, but
great. I can't imagine Kraven is good.
It's probably better than Madam Web.
Okay, fair.
I agree. It's probably bad, but also it has Fat Russell Crowe in it, so it's automatically going to be better.
Whoa!
Okay. Yep.
Fat Russell Crowe. He's the best.
Who's he playing? Is he Kraven?
Kraven's dad.
Oh, he's the old Kraven.
Old Kraven. Okay.
Not Superman's dad. And not Hercules.
Was he Superman's dad?
Yeah, and
he was
Henry
Superman's
Cavill's
dad in Man of Steel.
He also played Hercules' dad. He played Zeus in Thor 4.
In Thor, Blood and whatever.
Love and Thunder, yeah.
There was another Thor?
There's Thor 4, yeah.
Well,
he was Zeus.
It's not as good as the other Thor. Well, it's better than 2.
Better than 2.
It's still significantly worse than 1 and 3.
Great. So Ben Urich, let's talk about him. I forgot he was a Daredevil cast member here, but I'm glad he showed up. He is meeting someone who works for the Kingpin at the movies, doing some investigative journalism, calling his wife before, saying sorry. There's a big old line to get into the phone booth as well. Everybody needs his phone.
That's how phones were at the time.
Yeah,
you're taking too long, man. He's a reporter for the Bugle, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So they're sitting.
He's Joey Pantoliano in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's good casting.
Yeah.
So they're sitting watching this movie, doing some like talking about information. You brought the money, whatever. And then Elektra shows up behind this guy and stabs him through the back and tells Ben to drop the investigation because Cherry is going to be mayor and you are in danger.
This is the second person that's died from something stabbed through the back so far in the counter. So far. I love that Ben Urich is also like, it's like a fork weapon. I don't know what it was. And I'm like, it's Raphael Sai. And I have to remember that, the Ninja Turtles are based off of Daredevil, partially.
Yeah. New Yorkers don't know what Raphael's weapon is yet.
Plus, he didn't really get to see it, It's just like she stabbed it through the back of his chair, through his chest, I guess. And how would he know what it is, right? It's just like, you got him with a sword or something.
This is so good, though. You're right. This is so, like, art forward with like narration over it. Like, this is real. This feels very modern.
So Ben calls Daredevil. He knows that Daredevil is Matt Murdock. We have a lot of Ben Urich kind of talking to himself, thinking about all the Pulitzer Prize winning story that he's written about Daredevil that he can never publish because it would be giving his identity away, that kind of thing.
Foggy also knows that Daredevil is Daredevil, right? Yeah. So that's the score so far.
So somehow Ben Urich gets a meeting with Randolph Cherry at like the gym while he's working out, and Cherry says something to the effect of, "Oh, you're still smoking? Like, oh, be careful. You could lose your life early that way," or something like that. And he's like, "Did you hear that? That guy just threatened me." And everyone else at the gym is like kind of in on it with him, and they're like, "Oh, how about this?" And kind of hold him down with some weights.
Yeah, they hold him down. He keeps on referring to his henchman Arnie, whose face is never shown, and I wonder if that's an Arnold Schwarzenegger reference in 1982.
Oh yeah.
Which I love. I also love and hate that they're like, Ben Urich, you're 39, about to turn 40. 41 is going to be tough. If you keep poking your nose around, I'm like, man, I'm about to turn 40. I don't know about this.
Yeah,
but Ben Urich is rough looking. He's pretty rough looking for a 39-year-old.
That's true. He looks rough for them.
Yeah, it's definitely because The Long Goodbye comes out in 77 or 78 with Elliot Gould.
Oh yeah,
and Arnie is a henchman in that.
Okay, that makes sense then. Because he's definitely not done Terminator by the time. He might have done Conan.
No, yeah, that's 84. His Terminator.
Okay, yeah.
So he's
done Conan though, I think, or he's about to.
Yeah, right around this time. But yeah, definitely. I do love that there's another big bulky dude that's not the Kingpin that's also like a villain in Cherry. So yeah, I like this scene a lot. I like them like hassling him and like making him, intimidating him. I think that's really cool. And then when Daredevil shows up, is really cool when he starts like beating. They're like, man, he lifted those weights like it was nothing.
I do like the just like Jim Bro henchmen, where they're like, "Whoa, I don't want to actually fight this guy."
We're bodybuilders. We don't actually have any strength. These are glam muscles.
Daredevil ends up on their way out overhearing that there's going to be some meeting with Kingpin and Cherry. Oh, I would love to get some pictures of that as proof. If only I didn't have to be in court that day. Oh, but Ben goes instead. Tries to get a pic of everything. He ends up following some like lady who's trying to get in, and they kick her away. It's very stupid.
He's waiting for one job. He's like, "Well, I've learned that you want to follow the other story. That's more important." I'm like, in this case, I would have gotten the photos I was supposed to get, not the mysterious bag lady that he calls.
Yeah.
But in this case, because it's a narrative, it works out for him.
Right. She like follows her down into the subways. He's just like, oh yeah, that was nothing. But he got a picture of her as he was falling down.
It's a woman with welts, but we know because it's a single page, it's got to be somebody.
It's a huge splash page of random woman. So this is someone.
Yep.
Yeah, and she might be the most important thing, and she might be the inciting incident for Into the Spider-Verse. It could be.
So he gets home. Ben Urich gets home. Wife has missed him. He's dirty. It's late. He takes a shower, and they're kind of getting ready for some sexy time. But he gets a phone call, and he's like, "I'll be there in 20 minutes."
He's like, "Wild horses couldn't drag me away." Next panel,
and then
they dragged him away.
Go. Yep. She is sad. But it is some kind of a lead about Cherry's mistress that he gets from someone at some diner. Then Daredevil is just there. He goes, I think it's a trap.
Spoiler alert, it was.
It was. Yeah. But he's like, so I'm going to go instead. He goes and he finds Elektra. Big old fight. Ben takes some pictures of it. Elektra tricks Daredevil into stepping into a bear trap. But she rigged the bear trap to not rip his leg off, just to hurt him.
Bear traps have settings?
Yeah.
There's like 4 notches. You're like, okay, if we put the pin in this one, then it's only like maims you, but this one will cut your leg clean off. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to give the bear a warning.
Send a message.
Yeah.
And then with a human, I feel like you got to ratchet it down like 2 or more. Like, this is a human, not a bear.
I don't know. Yeah, it's probably. Do you think it has? Do bear traps have a human setting?
I don't think so.
Bear traps are one of the things I was most terrified of as a child that I've never encountered in the real world.
No.
I was terrified of them.
Do bears set similar kinds of traps?
Those things you would think.
Mm-hmm.
Right. All right. So she smashes some bricks down around him. He's collapsed in this pile of bricks. Ben Urich is on some opposite rooftop taking pictures, and he coughs. And Elektra sees him, throws a sigh right at him, and gets him in the back. He is stabbed again. Not again. The third person we've seen get stabbed.
Third backstab.
Third backstab.
Ben Urich.
But he survives it.
He's not going to die. He's been around for 40 years. He does die in the Daredevil TV show, if I recall correctly. But this Ben Urich lives.
Yeah.
To watch that Daredevil show again. That was good. Ooh, we got zombies on the cover of the next issue.
Zombies? Those are not zombies. They are just sewer people.
Sewer.
So Daredevil,
like one of the bad early episodes of Batman the Animated Series, where it's the Sewer King and his alligator.
Yeah, the Sewer King and his alligator. Daredevil 180. We see this like creepy looking dude, pale, covered in welts, and he's choosing a new queen from all the sewer people, and he chooses that bag lady, I think, that we were seeing. Meanwhile, Ben Urich is not dead. He has spent 2 weeks breathing through a tube. He's only 2 weeks. That's all it took to recover. He's fine now. Good for him.
Yeah, healthcare was a lot better in America back then.
Yeah.
They'll let you stay in a hospital for 2 weeks.
Good.
Without bankrupting you. I also love, we kind of glossed over it, but something that always seemed to happen in Miller's early run and still kind of carries throughout is there's always this one henchman Turk that always seems to be like in the opening, like pointless fight scene that Daredevil is always like encountering. Is always this one henchman Turk. And he's like in every issue of Daredevil. It's very cute. And I just liked it. Like, hey, there's my boy Turk. He's going to get beat up by Daredevil again. All right, cool. And
so that's him in the beginning of this as well?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yes, those two, Turk and Grotto, like that. Such great, like just goofy, bumbling criminals.
Because you remember how like Bendis would always like have like they would always have like the elongated man or some stupid villain that Spider-Man would fight like in the first like 5 pages of an issue. Like that's Turk, but Turk is always the villain. He does show up in the Netflix show, but I'm just like, at first I was like, who is this guy? Like I don't care. And then like as I just see him over and over again, I'm like, it's not an issue without Turk. He's a good guy. He's already he's shown up in a couple of these issues already that we just kind of glossed over him. So
gotcha. So Ben is now developing these pictures that he took that night, and he thinks he recognizes the girl, and takes it to Daredevil, and he's like, I think it's Kingpin's wife. Takes Daredevil down.
Embarrassed me in front of Vanessa.
That guy was good as Kingpin.
He was.
Takes Daredevil down to the subway station to see if they can find her. Matt is going to go deeper, and he's like, Ben, you go home. You got to rest. But then we see
he's got a cast on his leg and he's with crutches, and he took a cab to the sewers.
Mm-hmm.
And the boys are like, "No, it's free. It's on me, man. If I tell the guys I drove Daredevil."
Mm-hmm.
This is so weird because it's like it's a fill-in issue. You're like, why do you have to do this?
We see Ben Urich get caught by a bunch of these hands, so he's caught by sewer people.
Ben Urich also was just in a feeding tube. Why is he also going down to
No, he wasn't gonna. He was gonna turn back, and the sewer people got him.
They catch him.
J. Jonah Jameson, meanwhile, retracts his statements about Rudolph Cherry, and Foggy is disappointed in it. He's like, we could have defended him, but he gave up. Daredevil goes down and meets this sewer king. He and Ben get tied up together and then dropped into the water with a gator. But Daredevil, even with his bum leg, is able to kick this gator in the face and get out of there. Beats up the king. He becomes the new king of the sewer people. Hooray!
I like that they chant for him as their new king.
Yeah, new king, new king. He goes to the Kingpin with this ring, and Kingpin recognizes the ring, and he's like, "Oh, Vanessa, what do you want?" He's like, "I want Cherry." We've been seeing all issue. Cherry has been winning in a landslide. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna get a new mayor," but then he concedes.
I actually really love the pacing of this because it's pretty much the exact same like panel structure between 2 pages, and the page 1 is like, "Thank you, I've won the mayorship. I have a mandate," and blah 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 blah, and then like intercut Daredevil's like, "I want this guy I want him. That's what I want from you, Kingpin." And then immediately the next page, like, "I have resigned. I have chosen not to take this." It's just so like, it's really good. It's just really good, like page reveal of like how they did it.
Right.
I really like it.
And it really just shows like how important the Kingpin is. That it's just like this guy, he's just like, no, I like if I was the mayor and the Kingpin was against me, I don't want that. I'd rather just not be mayor.
But then also, but at the same time, he's like, man, still fuck Daredevil. Let's go kill his best friend. Let's go.
Yes, he's like, yeah, I'm pissed I had to do that. Someone's got to die. I can't really do this person, can't do that person. Yeah, let's do Foggy. Sends Elektra.
I do like how sweaty it is. Just like, I can't kill Matt Murdock because, he's like, Daredevil has helped him in the past or whatever. But I'm going to kill this guy who's married and is kind of fat. That'll solve our problem.
Well, send a message. We don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
How bold you were to fuck with me, Daredevil. But I do appreciate you finding Vanessa.
I do like that it's like Spider-Man wouldn't think to do something like that. Spider-Man would just be like, "Oh, I saved your wife. You want to do something nice now?" Just out of the goodness of your heart.
Yeah.
Like Daredevil is slightly meaner, where he's like, "No, actually, I'm going to use your wife as a bargaining tool. I'm going to send her back to the sewer people if you don't negotiate with me."
I think those 2 pages are great. I think they are just like real good writing, real good panel pacing, real good like everything. I think it's really well done. And you're right. The Spider-Man wouldn't do that. That's very much a Daredevil kind of thing.
Right. It's like a level of like, oh, that's kind of, it's not evil or anything, but it's like a level of like not being a sap. I feel like a lot of superheroes don't.
Yeah, he's like playing dirty or just like getting his hands a little dirty and like also like talking rationally with the villain is very interesting in that way.
Right. Like you can see why in like our Spider-Gwen series that like he becomes the Kingpin. Like there's that element where it's like, oh, they're kind of similar in a way.
Yeah. I also like I always forget that Vanessa is so important. And then I remember that like Spider-Verse 1, the whole reason is the Kingpin's trying to get his wife back, even in that movie. Like that's also like the major like starting point to the whole movie is the Kingpin's trying to get his wife back. And I'm like, oh yeah. Vanessa is very important to him.
Yeah, that's the main thing about the Kingpin is he's a wife guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
He loves his Vanessa.
Yeah. He's like the guy Ned that got kicked out of the Try Guys.
Oh yeah. Topical.
Toggle from like 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was. I'm sure there'll be like a Hulu documentary about it coming out next year.
I'm sure. But yeah, anyway, so that's what 180, right?
We're getting to the big issue now. The special double.
Now 181.
Bullseye versus Elektra. One wins, one dies.
Whoa. There's a big old Bullseye issue here. He's in prison, just monologuing about how much he hates Daredevil and he's going to take everything away from him because he keeps putting him here in jail. He's been working out. He's going to be stronger. All that good stuff.
His therapist was like, yo, like it's probably better to let him work out and get some of that aggression out, even though if he's going to get real swole.
Yeah. He is getting
funny.
these.
I guess it's just Black is slimming. You're like, he's jacked.
Yeah. He is also getting these terrible migraines every now and then that he's got to take medication for or something. He'll like go crazy.
Relatable. No, he has like a brain tumor or something like
that
this, some
okay.
terminal condition. That's not relatable. I don't know what that part's like.
But then on the he meets Punisher in there. Punisher's been in the prison for 3 days and meets him, and he says, "Hey man, you're waiting for Kingpin to bust you out. He's not gonna. He's got a new assassin. You're kind of stuck here." Which Bullseye is not happy to hear.
I love that Bullseye's like, "Wait, why are you telling me this?" And he's like, "No, I just thought maybe you'd do something stupid, get killed. I thought that would be cool."
That is good. So then, for some reason, then there is an interview with Bullseye happening live from Rikers Island.
And they want him in costume.
They want him in costume. They've got stuff, whatever. There's a guard there.
Live? This seems like this needs to be edited. I mean, I'm just gonna say, like, he could say some words that might get your FCC license taken away.
Yeah, they got
At
the
very
10-second.
least.
They got the 10-second button.
Do they in '82?
Yeah, they talk about it in Saturday Night Live, the movie that came out this year.
Okay, they didn't have that for the Super Bowl, if I recall correctly, back in Justin Timberlake's
60
days.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that's also like you're seeing some nudity versus like bleeping.
I'm confused. Why is this interview happening at all? I don't know.
He's been not around for any of the issues we've read. Bullseye's old news, boring, dull. Elektra's the new hotness.
Yeah, they had a big fight. Daredevil saved him, which he resents, obviously. And I guess in part because he's dying. He also was going crazy, as I recall from, because I remember there's a great cover where it's Bullseye like killing daredevils, and everyone he sees is a daredevil. From like 171 or 2 or something like that. So like recently, there was a big Bullseye issue that Bullseye went to jail in. So he's. I love that because this is all from his point of view, and he's just like guessing what Daredevil's doing, and you just see Daredevil doing stuff that just shows he's right.
Is he also being interviewed by Tom Snyder? Although I think they call him Tom Snide in this. That's so weird.
I don't know. So I do like how he busts out though. He has another headache, and they give him a pill, but he's faking it, and he spits it right through the cop's eye. Cool.
So cool.
We got some gunfire. Takes a gun. He starts beating everyone up. Gets out of there. Kills some cops. They've got a guy in a helicopter shooting at him. He like latches onto the helicopter. It's a pretty fun action sequence there.
Turk jumps onto the ladder.
Yeah. That's right, because Turk was in prison. He was the one who's like, yo, man, that's the Punisher. You don't want to talk to him. I'm out of here. So good.
So then, what do we
one
get?
One henchman in all of this universe. He's used for everything. He gets work. He's good. He's got a good special guest star role.
I do like the moment, like it's just in one page, but one of the cops like teases Bullseye where he's just like, "Oh, which way do I turn this to open the pills?" And he's like, "You're dead," whatever the cop's name is. And then later, as he's leaving, he's like, "Oh yeah, I said I was gonna kill you, didn't I?"
Yeah.
And just shoots him, and then like the narration box was like, "Well, that was stupid," but whatever.
So he goes to meet up with some old contact of his, finds a place to shack up for a little while, gets a little drunk, smokes some cigarettes, looking at pictures of Daredevil. For some reason, also pictures of Matt Murdock, who I guess, the lawyer who put him away.
It is. It's jarring to see, like I'm used to seeing cigars in old Marvel comics, but it's jarring to see him just like take a cigarette out of someone's mouth and start smoking it. Like, what? This guy's a bad guy.
He starts thinking, wait a minute, these pictures of Matt Murdock and these pictures of Daredevil? Wait a minute, hold on. Nah, that's a crazy idea. They couldn't be. And then he
that next is Elektra, right? Because then later he tests his theory with Daredevil.
So first off, Foggy and Matt are in court the next day. Someone plants a bug on Foggy. He's like, "Hey, good job, lawyer," and pats him on the back. I don't know why they needed a bug on him because he immediately gets into a cab and Elektra is the driver. Oh no! They kidnap him, drive the cab right into a big old truck.
I do like that that Bullseye is like, yeah, the one thing that Daredevil, like Matt Murdock's more of a talker, but the thing that he and Daredevil have in common, both saps.
Mm-hmm. They're both nerds.
What I also love is that Bullseye really has a beef with Elektra. He's like, "Why Kingpin didn't even want to bust me out of prison? Usually he'll bust me out of prison, but no, he's got this new hot assassin. He just replaced me. This is bullshit. I gotta go murder Elektra. This fucking sucks." And then I'll be on Kingpin's favor because this is stupid. I really like that, like extra motivation is beef against Elektra. I wasn't expecting that in the Death of Elektra issue. Was him to hate Elektra.
Yeah, but I do like he's they have a fun, very evenly matched fight scene. He shows up right after she kidnaps Foggy, and they have a good big old fight there.
Yeah, I do like Elektra doesn't kill Foggy because he's like, "Hey, I know you. We went to college together. You were Matt's girlfriend," and she's like, "Oh, get out of here."
Yeah, there were like flashback scenes, I would say, in earlier issues of them at college together, right?
Yeah.
And the fight is good. This is where your line came from. You're pretty good, but I'm magic.
Yeah. This was in the movie. The movie is not good, but Colin Farrell as Bullseye, I feel, is pretty good.
I do love that Bullseye became a penguin and that Daredevil became a Batman, but not at the same time.
Yep.
Whoa. Wait, Ben Stiller became
to
Batman?
do this
Yeah,
forever.
Ben Stiller became Batman after he was Daredevil. That's right.
I had no idea.
Yeah, but I'm Batman. It's me doing Ben Stiller's Bruce Willis impression. Okay, that was weird.
Then Bullseye's like, "All right, here's my next trick." He stabs her right through the stomach. She is not dead yet.
He does like hit her in the neck with a ace of diamonds or ace of spades. I'm like, that's pretty metal to cut her throat with the card because he's so good at throwing stuff and then stabs her.
I do like that. She is not dead though. After taking a card to the throat and a sigh through the stomach, she manages to crawl/drag her way over to Matt Murdock's house, and he finds her. They take her to the hospital, all that stuff. I guess this was enough confirmation as well for Bullseye to see her crawl to Matt Murdock's place. Is that the idea?
He breaks in, like he disguises himself as a cop, and then when he's like, "Oh yeah, I replaced O'Houlihan or whatever," like just talking to Murdock, Matt is like, "That's fucking Bullseye." Like the second he hears him, and he's like, he recognizes me. That's Daredevil.
And then he like throws like something at Matt Murdock, and Matt Murdock just happens to lift his cane at the exact moment to block it.
Because he's like, "Well, worst case, I just killed this blind guy," but I think he's Daredevil.
Mm-hmm. So then he goes to Kingpin with this information, and Kingpin does not believe it at all, and says, "Look, just kill him. Just bring me Daredevil's body. That's all I care about right now."
I don't need your stupid bullshit theories.
Kingpin's like, "I don't even want you back. Like you are very annoying. Kill Daredevil, and then we can talk."
Yeah, like this is a whole lot just to try and get a job back with me. Just yeah. So he goes out there. They have a nice big old fight scene with Daredevil and Bullseye together. Not much else to say about it. It's fun.
He does the inflatable Batman trick that I always talk about.
Yeah, he fakes him out. He hears a recording of Matt Murdock practicing a closing argument
by reading the Fourth Amendment.
And he's just like, "Oh shit, I thought he was Daredevil."
But then it pans around.
Doesn't actually see him.
It's like a mannequin holding a coffee cup with a wig on top of it, a Matt Murdock wig and glasses also, which weren't seen from behind. But okay.
And I do like how quick, like, dynamic this action sequence is. They're like out a window, they're onto a train, they're on some power lines. They're really just kind of like every page feels like a different backdrop for this fight as they're just kind of going wherever as they're fighting.
Speaking of backdrops, Miller also does a thing. I don't know, we're comic artists doing this at the time where Miller does not draw a lot of backgrounds, I've noticed. A lot of them are just like single color backgrounds or like kind of an outline of a building and then just like orange, which feels very modern to comics today, that they're like, I'm not going to draw all these windows. But yeah, you're right, Kia. The art is just like super dynamic. And I also appreciate that, like, Elektra's death, if you were buying this like at the comic shop, you knew that this was happens like in the middle of the issue. Like how I like that Death of a Captain America. So you're still getting like a big bullseye fight like after. It's not ending on that page.
Yeah, it's crazy that they kill her and it's not like a cliffhanger. Like then Daredevil has a big fight in the second half of the issue. It's crazy.
So Bullseye falls down from some power lines. He's done. He's out.
He falls because he's trying, like, Daredevil's holding him with one arm and he tries to stab Daredevil with the sai, and Daredevil's like, okay, screw you, and just drops him.
And then we see Kingpin just burning his Bullseye file. He doesn't give a shit. I'm done with this. And again, with this, the commentary from Bullseye being like, he's probably moved on, already looking for another hitman at this point. And Bullseye is just in the hospital, all bandaged up, just hating Daredevil. Yep. So yeah, that was the big double-sized one. I thought there was going to be more Elektra in that issue, to be honest. I didn't expect it to be a Bullseye issue.
I did not either.
I kind of expected some Elektra in any of these issues, but she was fighting.
She really doesn't do much. I feel like in the issues preceding that, like, she's still like, if I recall correctly, it has been like 10-15 years since I've read it, she doesn't do much for her to have such an impact. But Chris brought up a huge point like a few episodes ago that, like, Marvel is really good at like going back to scenes to give them more and more meaning over time. Like, if you just read this in a vacuum, like, oh, that was a big deal, I guess. But like now, like, 40 years later, you're like, wow, shit, like the death of Elektra was big because it's constantly referenced and constantly like homaged to and talked about as like an important story. Like, they grafted meaning onto it over time. And I feel like that's a very interesting thing that comics are able to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that a little bit. Although, hard to credit the individual story with that when it's like you kind of have to.
That was Galactus. That's who we were talking about. It was like Galactus was like, okay, this is fine. But like Galactus, like over time, I was like, oh yeah, that was a big fucking deal. But and the reason we're doing this, we're doing one more issues because I assumed that it was ending on a cliffhanger before I read 181. I was like, oh, I guess this will probably be the wrap up of the story, right? So here we are.
I mean, it kind of is. Also,
this is an interesting issue.
It is. The trade that I was reading from, I think there was like a Daredevil Visionaries. There's 3 volumes of Frank Miller. This was all in the second volume.
That's exactly what I had.
Yeah, this is the last issue in the second volume. So it did also seem like a good kind of stopping point. So yeah, 182. It is a weird issue because even though Elektra crawled to Matt Murdock and they took her to the hospital and all that, he is also like just not believing that she is dead. He is like going crazy about it for this whole issue. And there's like some other stuff happening in the background. None of it really matters. It's all just Daredevil losing his mind, going to a judge in the middle of the night, saying we got to exhume the corpse of Elektra. It's not her. And it basically ends with him doing it anyways and just going to dig up the body and then crying, being like, oh, it's Elektra, she's dead. And Foggy finds him and is like, I'm going to take you home, man. It's okay.
Yeah, I do like he confronts Kingpin and he's like, where do you have Elektra? And he's just like, what? What are you talking about, man?
I do like that also in the background of all this, Kingpin is like, look, Daredevil is busy being crazy right now. We can go through with this deal, no problem. like some big drug deal or something, but the Punisher is out and the Punisher stops it, and we just kind of get to see that happen.
Yeah, some FBI guy is like, look, officially I can't stop this big drug deal, but what if you did it?
Mm-hmm.
And then the Punisher just goes out, stops it himself. Then the FBI guy's like, well, I have to arrest. Oh, you knocked me out and left me here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the deal was like, we're gonna let you out of prison for a little while to take care of this for us, and then bring you back. And he's like, well, yeah, I'm not going back.
Like, this FBI guy's pretty screwed.
Yeah. Was there anything else to talk about in the last issue? It was kind of a quick.
I just liked it because it's just like it's so rare. Again, like, go back to like the 80s, like to see a superhero just like dealing with grief like this and in like total denial. You're just like, oh, he's like really going through it. Like, he's crazy. Like, his girlfriend comes by and is like, Matt, are we going out to dinner? And he's like, shut up.
Yeah, he had a girlfriend.
Busy. Yeah, that was Heather Glenn.
Yeah, she didn't show up anywhere else in these other issues.
Yeah, he's just like, no, Elektra is like my one true love. I don't have time for you right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like super shitty.
Yeah. Yeah, he was just kind of shitty in this last issue. All right.
He was, but like I said, I think it was interesting because you're just like, it's not, again, this is, even when Gwen Stacy died, you didn't have like Peter Parker going around like acting like this. This is just crazy for a superhero to do.
I've seen like fever dream issues, but not like how they're acting. Like when I don't remember who died, but definitely Peter's had some like just like whoa, like crazy, like I don't believe it dreams, but issues, but yeah. Not like this. It's very interesting. And then I like the Punisher stuff. I always love him. I love my boy Punisher.
Yeah. So I think we're ready to get into final-ish thoughts on this thing. Vince?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. I usually, when we go back this far in comics, I'm usually kind of like, this is going to be kind of dicey. And I remember reading like I had those 3 Marvel Visionaries of Frank Miller, and I remember reading the first one, and I don't even think he was the writer on it necessarily, but I was like, not really feeling this. This just feels like kind of like okay-ish 70s comics. But this is great. This is exactly what I want. That Ben Urich issue is so good. Just like the narration, it focuses like on like a lesser character, but like gives him more depth. It gives more just like interesting things. I think like the crime mob stuff that I really like. Like he's trying to talk to somebody as a journalist at a movie theater. They're trying to be like surreptitious, and then that dude just gets stabbed in the back. Like that's real cool. I think the scene where like Cherry accepts the nomination or the win and then resigns the next page with the Daredevil and Kingpin stuff intercut is so good. I think Kingpin is really like just like quietly well depicted in this arc. I like that. I always thought that the Elektra death was like more meaningful or like more romantic, and it just seems like Bullseye was just being petty towards Elektra, which I like that interpretation. I never really thought of it that way, that he just wanted to get his job back from Kingpin and Elektra was in his way. And I like
it also like it helps characterize, we did Superior Foes of Spider-Man. Like that was like why Boomerang was around. Like he was like, oh, like I'm going to replace Bullseye or whatever. And you realize like, oh, this is like a job you'll get murdered over.
Yep. So I liked it. I thought it was just very fresh feeling for our comics that we read on this show. And this is the style of comic I like. I like these kind of like crime and political dealings comics anyway. So this was right up my alley. I really liked this.
Gotcha. Chris, how about you?
Yeah, I feel like this really holds up well. We haven't talked that much about the art, but like Miller, I think he is so effective at what he's good at this point, which is like he is so good at like getting action and emotion across. Like I don't think his art is ever like the prettiest, but like, and it's surprising, like, again, knowing like what would happen to Miller in the future, like it's surprisingly like funny in parts. Like it's like the Ben Urich stuff is like sweet. Like it's really mature, knowing that he's like, whatever he is, he's very young at this point. And that like he's going to go crazy in the future. But like this is like, to me, in some ways this is like some of his most accessible and best work, because even by like Batman year one, like it's getting a little like it's not funny anymore. It's like this is serious stuff, which I think is I don't like as much. I like this better. Like this is what I'm with Vince. Like this is kind of what I like in my comics is like crime and like some serious stuff, but also like silly stuff happening too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that the lightheartedness of just New York, and the fun kind of being in that environmental. The environment is the comedic relief almost in a way. I don't know. I like that. But overall, I'm definitely not as high on these comics as you two are. Like they're fine. Crime and political stuff is not like an inherent gotta love it sort of thing. And I think I would have liked these more if I'd read like definitely more of the run kind of all the way through. But like in a vacuum, just these 5 issues were all over the place. And I think part of it, I came for Elektra and I really didn't get much of any Elektra at all. Like I have nothing to tell me that she's important to Matt Murdock at all, really, other than being told that she is in these issues. And then out of nowhere, another girlfriend who hasn't been in the book for a half a year comes in. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, wait, what is going on? It didn't have the best first impression with that like parade issue that kind of was like, what's going on? And it didn't have the best kind of exit lasting impression on me with this last issue of Matt Murdock going crazy for some reason, even though he was there with the dead body. And yeah, it's fine. But overall, like individual scenes, I like it all. I don't like the pacing. I don't like the way a lot of it is strung together and just kind of just all over the place for me.
Yeah, I mean, I get that you're not getting very much of Elektra, and they're only saying that they were in love because they're telling you. But it is and I understand there's like a broader context of like how comics are. But like this is Daredevil's point of view. Like this is his like first. If we're thinking of it like this is the person that like he slept with first or whatever and was first in love with or whatever it is, that like he takes this way harder than he otherwise would have. Like it's not even to me that like, oh, they're like actually destined to be together or whatever. It's more just like, oh, he's just taking this really badly.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
again, I think it's interesting. Like I don't know. I understand, not being, if you wanted Elektra, there's not a whole lot of it. But again, I thought like that Bullseye issue is so good.
But I mean, I did like that kind of going back and looking at it from that. It's like I did really like the Bullseye issue and how it was all just kind of framed around that. It's not what I expected at all. It really felt like Elektra was just not even an important named character. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, that's the new assassin. I got to kill her, and that's it. But I don't want to be too negative about it. Like I said, it is a fun and like enjoyable read, and I could see myself just reading the full Frank Miller run. I think that would be that would probably just having more context behind all of it would be a lot better.
You can definitely, I don't want to get into longer conversations because we're winding down, but you can definitely see how much Will Eisner's The Spirit influenced Frank Miller because she is such a like action girl, spirit girlfriend.
That book, Eisner Miller, which is like an interview. It's like a series of like transcribed interviews between Frank Miller and Will Eisner. And at the time, I was like really into Frank Miller when I read it. And man, Will Eisner, like Miller loves Frank. Frank Miller loves Will Eisner, and Will Eisner couldn't give a shit about Frank Miller. He's like, I saw some of your comics; they're all right. I don't really like a lot of your shit though.
Well, yeah, he's like 40 years older than him. Like he's not gonna be.
Like I remember the time I'm like, man, Eisner comes out like as a crotchety old man, but like the more I like learned, like as Miller like continued his arc, I'm like, I'm more on Will Eisner's side here for a lot of these things. It's probably done like around the 300 Sin City era for Frank Miller. So
yeah, like 90s.
Very self-serious, whereas this is like a lot, as you're saying, like a lot lighter, a lot more interesting. His art is also, if you haven't seen it, Google it. It doesn't look like his like Dark Knight Returns or Sin City art at all. It's like a lot lighter, more cartoony type. Like early Romita Jr., but not the same. The similar arc of like how Romita Jr.'s art changed as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. And it's also funny. You can tell, like, Chris Claremont was so good at working with his artists and, like, what do you want to draw? Because when he does the Wolverine miniseries in, like, 1984 or whatever, it's like Wolverine fights a bunch of ninjas.
Yeah.
And he's just like, yeah, like, I want people with swords fighting people. That's what I want.
Yeah. But I think we are ready to jump to Thunderbolts now. Anything else to say about Daredevil?
No, I think we're good.
We're good. Yep. Rest in peace, Elektra.
We're never gonna see her again.
Never gonna see her again. So Thunderbolts, yeah. Finish those first 12. The big story in the first 12. These villains posing as heroes. Zemo was their terrible leader. They turned against him. The one guy, Fixer, turned into Techno, turned into a robot. He stayed evil, but all the rest of them seemed to have turned mostly good. They were willing to turn themselves into the Avengers, but then they disappeared, and ended up here on this completely different planet in a completely different story. Not really. They're still dealing with some of the, talking about what they've been through, but it is very like, yeah, we're just in a totally different place right now. So let's jump into it. They just kind of flash into this other planet surrounded by green bug people. They're talking about there's like definitely a king and like a prince and a royal guard, and they're like sees them. They recognize Atlas. He's like, that's the guy, that's the intruder from beyond who came to like invade us a long time ago. And
Has he
Atlas
changed
realizes
costumes?
where they are.
Well, he's still
not
dressed
only
like Atlas.
He's changed costumes. I believe they do mention that he has also changed his face. They gave him like a different look when Techno was kind of helping them all hide their identities.
But they still recognize it, see right through it.
Mm-hmm. They recognize him. They're like, "Oh my god, take them!" So they start. A little fight breaks out. Meteorite is definitely just kind of taking position as the leader, being like, "Rubber bullets, and we don't know what's actually happening here, everyone." Songbird is getting very aggressive to the point, like a little bit later in this issue, Abe, Mach 1, kind of goes to her and is like, "Hey, babe, you've been like really, really aggressive recently. You okay?" And she's like, "Back off." Then they get distracted by other stuff. So they escape from these bug people and they just kind of fly somewhere else on this planet to figure out their move. We learned from Atlas that this is where he was trapped, that they had to rescue him from. It's something to do with like the PIM particles. This is the planet where they came from, and he was like, turned into energy and trapped here, and people were taking advantage of him, all that kind of stuff. Also, he kind of admits, like, yeah, I used to be a little insane back then, which I imagine is just kind of the way that supervillains used to be written,
Yeah, it is a funny thing to just be like, look, I was pretty insane. So,
yeah.
I mean, it would be like Bullseye if you were to ask him in like 1998, like, hey, remember when you killed Elektra? He'd be like, no, not really.
No. So they're figuring out their moves. They're like, all right, we got to get some like fire, get something going, because we're just kind of living out in this alien wilderness. And we get a lot of history lessons here, a lot of Kurt Busiek history of old stuff that's happened, and that's fine, I guess. It can be cute. But what else? I didn't take very good notes for this issue because, it's like we said at the beginning, it's not the most fun issue. Not a lot to write about here.
I say, Vince, you took detailed notes, right? This has your favorite stuff.
Yeah, what happened, Vince?
Have you seen... Okay, so really, I just got derailed on the whole thing. Have you seen Ant-Man 3, Ant-Man and Wasp 2, Quantumania?
No.
It's basically that.
Basically this, yeah.
Basically, the big criticism for me of Ant-Man 3, Ant-Man Wasp 2 was that, like, it was Ant-Man in a story that didn't matter. So basically, in that movie, like this, Ant-Man shows up in a completely different alien society, maybe a micro world in the quantum realm, and like shit's already going down, and he's got to like kind of figure out what's going on in this world. And then Kang is also a problem. Kang's going to be coming to this world, and so he's got to fight him. And it's like, it's my same criticism of Ant-Man 3 as it is this. It's like, I don't understand why the Thunderbolts need to be in this story. Like, this is another story that's happening. What does that do for my characters? Like, why the fuck are my characters, like, changed by this? Not really. I mean, Atlas has, like, some type of back history, but, like, Jolt's not going to be changed or altered or, like, bring out some weird, cool character quality out of her because of this story.
And it's like literally the only reason is because like 6 issues ago, Atlas fought the Growing Man or whatever because the Hydra people like shot him at him basically as a weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that big old like alien robot thing they had to fight. Yeah.
Yeah, the growing alien robot. Yeah, so that alerted the aliens that they had a guy who did this thing and something. It is funny though that you mentioned Ant-Man and the Wasp, because these aliens, Cosmos or whatever they're called, I did look it up. These aliens have only appeared a handful of times ever, but their first appearance, which there is a footnote for it, is in Tales of Astonish 44. That's the first appearance of the Wasp.
Wow.
So the first appearance, she fights some stupid aliens.
Yep.
Won't be here last time.
I do remember thinking, like, I'm reading these alien names. They all have, like, unpronounceable names. No apostrophes in them, but I was like, I think Vince is still going to hate these names.
I'm going to hate it. Kang showed up. They talk about the Blue Man. I'm just the idea.
Yeah, they're so this whole race of aliens got a message all like beamed into their heads at one point that the Blue Man was going to show up and enslave them and destroy them and all that stuff. And so that's what they are now in civil war over. They're all panicking over what's going to happen, fighting each other over something that hasn't even happened yet and all that. Yeah. And I will say, just to kind of like to talk about how is this going to change them? I do kind of like that it is sort of an impersonal story here, where it's like we've just been through a lot, and they're kind of like each taking it in differently. Like Songbird is getting all aggressive, Meteorite's a leader, Jolt isn't sure if you can trust her, Atlas is kind of trying to atone. Like you do get those little bits of character stuff in this backdrop. You're right, though; it's not personal to them very much, other than Atlas, but. It is just, I think for me, it's like, well, we probably weren't really planning on keeping the Thunderbolts around after these 12 issues. Maybe it turned into a thing we're keeping around, but let's just kind of get them out of the Marvel Universe for a little while till we figure out what we're doing with them.
Yeah.
And
that's how I see it.
And I don't mind like a story like this that is like self-contained, like a bottle episode, no pun intended, because they're in whatever micro world or whatever it is. But I think that it would work a lot better if because obviously they're setting it up as a two-parter, but even as a two-parter, it should be like split up with like, oh, what's Atlas's, girlfriend, ex-girlfriend or whatever, Dallas Riordan doing? What is Shield doing to find the Thunderbolts? Like, it should be like there should be subplots setting like, where did Zemo go? Like, there should be subplots setting up like what else is going on, and not just like 20 pages of alien crap.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot of alien and a lot of history.
Well, I feel like we have some flashpoints every now and then. We were talking like, was it that Captain Marvel book a while back? Like this one, it's like flashes in my head. It's like, why did you choose for this story to be slotted here? And that was like, why are we doing like a weird like a flashback time travel story when we need to be like setting the tone for where this book is going? And this is a weird like the big question in my head for Thunderbolts is like, you just had them all outed. They fought the Avengers, and now they're on the run. What is your like mission statement for the Thunderbolts like next adventure? Where's this book going? And this like, oh, we're just gonna do alien bullshit. I'm out if this next issue isn't good. Like that's kind of where I'm at. Like that's
fair. Hey.
Like that's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. I get it. Like, it's not. I don't think it, and I can't imagine like this is. I don't think this is the right. Because again, like even if you set it up as a like, a quick thing, like, but even like Archon or something like that like people know, and it's not like everybody knows Archon, but he was in, he tried to marry Storm in the X-Men cartoon, so you at least kind of know who he is, versus these guys who you're like, I have no clue who you're talking about right now. Like this is complete unknowns.
Mm-hmm. Vince, I will at least confirm for you, it is just a two-parter before we get back to Earth, and we start to get things going. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I'm like, if this is the next year-long arc, I'm like,
no, it's not going to be a year-long arc of this. Don't worry.
It couldn't, as much as Kurt Busiek stretched out the Elements of Doom to 3 issues.
Yeah, not
there's
this.
Zero chance this is going more than 2.
Yeah. So let's at least just finish the story of what
As
happens
you say,
here.
we haven't mentioned. I do like the ending. I do
too.
think
Yeah.
it's good character development.
So they're out in the wilderness, and this prince comes and finds them, and they're like, "Oh my God, are you a spy?" And he's like, "No, I just kind of wanted to find y'all and see if you could help our people." They go turn themselves in, and the king is like, "All right, what should we do?" I actually really like the scenes of the king talking to his advisors and stuff, who seem to really all have some pretty like deep characters to them. Like he's like, "I don't really trust you, man, but I gotta listen to you." And it's like, oh God, being a king sucks. You gotta like be strong, but the best way to do that is just to like not actually think for yourself. I don't know. He's like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. We're not gonna execute them, but we can't just let them go. We're gonna question them about the Blue Man, and then when we're satisfied, we'll kill them. Cool. And so they get imprisoned. They're all thinking of what to do next. And Meteorite, Moonstone, she is like, all right, these guys are all just a bunch of whiners. Every time they're like trapped and it seems hopeless, they just complain and wish it wasn't the case instead of finding a solution. I'm gonna go find a solution. She has a power that we've never seen before. As Moonstone, she can phase through things. And she's like, I've been pretending to be a different superhero, so I couldn't use that power, but I'm not pretending anymore, so I can just do that.
Yeah, I love that. That's so
Yeah.
cool. I was like, yeah.
And so she phases out of the prison, goes to the king, and says, "Hey, I got a deal."
Goes to the vizier. Or
the
whatever,
vizier.
right?
Sorry. So I got a deal that I think you're gonna like. That's where that ends. So they're probably gonna fuck with this planet's political system and get out of there.
Destabilize it, definitely.
Yep, destabilize it.
Yeah. I do like as someone who's played it way too much Baldur's Gate 3 and D&D in the last few years. Like it is fun that like she is just the evil voice in the party that's like, why don't we just kill them all and leave, or the sort of like manipulate everyone into doing the thing that's easiest for us. Mm-hmm. Versus like being again like the Spider-Man like rube of the good lawful choice of like, look, we have to help everyone. It would be wrong to ask for a reward from these aliens. Where you're like, no, I need to go back home, and also I need these aliens to learn not to mess with me.
Yeah, it's good. One other tiny little detail that I really liked is that when I think it's Songbird who's like, there's a spy. She makes chopsticks out of sound to like pick him up and bring him over. I thought that was silly. But that's it.
They're also hitting a subplot where like Mach 1 is like starting to get a little concerned that now Songbird, since she went crazy against the elements of doom, that he's like, babe, you've been going crazy a lot of times. Like you keep we don't know if these things are human, and you're just like shooting to kill basically. And she's like, whatever.
Vince, they also did bring up the thing that you were like, how did they recognize Atlas? And he was like, well, I mean, they're bugs. Their senses probably don't work the way we do. Your appearance probably is like the least important thing to them. They can probably just like sense your bio stuff or smell or something like that.
That was good too. And then there's just like everyone stares at Mach 1, and he's just like, I'm smart too. It's not just techno.
Yeah. But that's it. Next time we'll continue on to 14. Anything else to say about it, Vince? You just didn't care if you're done.
I'll be done if 14 doesn't pick it up. But man, they do good cliffhangers, and that Moonstone stuff was good.
They do good cliffhangers. So next time, number 14. And we're going to let Vince decide if we keep reading Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts is on thin ice with us. We could drop it at any second. Stay tuned to find out. And then what's our main read next time? Oh, we're doing Secret Wars next time. Well, we did Secret Wars 1 forever ago, which was a big 12-issue event where all the heroes were kind of randomly stuck in space because of some dude who summoned them there. And then the next year they did Secret Wars 2. It's a 9-issue series from 84 to 85. We're just going to read half of it. We're going to do the first 5 issues next time by Jim Shooter and Al Milgrom. Jim Shooter did the first one. Did Al Milgrom do the writing or the art for whatever? Secret Wars 1 through 5. Secret Wars 2, 1 through 5. I think it's weird when titles have numbers in them, but then there's also issue numbers that go after it. So we're going to read Secret Wars 2-1, 2-2, all the way up to 2-5. And then Thunderbolts 14. Looking forward to that. Chris, what do you got going on? How's the Your Stupid Minds podcast doing?
It's going fine. We did our Inferno episode. We talked all about a very stupid Ron Howard movie that most people didn't see. And I think we're now finally done with Nick's Christmas Vacation movies, because we did Inferno and then Gunner, a movie he watched on a plane on the way back from his Christmas vacation. So now we're moving on. We will, Vince, don't worry. Once Craven comes to Netflix, keep an eye out.
Oh yeah, I will be on board. I stupidly committed to buying every Marvel movie on disc.
Oh no!
And
You can drop that commitment whenever you want.
I'm gonna have a Steelbook of Craven next to my Madam Web Steelbook. It's gonna happen.
Okay.
Gonna...
Good luck.
I
Good luck.
only buy 2 sets of movies. I buy Marvel movies and I buy Fast and Furious movies, and that's all I buy.
You buy 2 of each?
Yep, 2 of each. Yep, I have 2 copies of Fast X. No, just 1.
Okay, good. Was that it? Was that your plug? No.
Yep, that was my plug. Madam Web Steelbook, okay. Craven Steelbook.
Great. Do I have a plug? I started playing Metroid Dread finally.
Ooh,
it's cool.
You liking it?
Yeah.
Cool.
That's all.
I have Metroid Dread amiibos right above me right now.
It's fun. I bought the amiibos forever ago, and I've had them, and now I finally have the game to go with them. Isn't that exciting? I'm not going to. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'll actually plug the amiibos in. You know, is that how do they work? You plug them into your TV? I don't know. Time to end the episode. Vince, I love you.
Love you too, buddy.
Chris, I love you.
I love. Oh, my chest. What?
Oh, no. Did he get stabbed? You having a heart attack?
Oh, it's just ballooned through. It's fine.
Oh, okay. Ooh, just one of those random happenstance balloon spikes?
Yeah.
In your chest?
Yep.
It's going to turn out, we're going to turn it into a dog. We're going to spin it together. It'll be fun.
Oh, I see. I get it. That took me a second to figure out what you were talking about. All right, listener, we love you as well. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.